Around a month ago, the long-anticipated Dead Island 2 came out, a direct sequel to the critically acclaimed Dead Island 1 and Dead Island Riptide. Now, we hadn't seen any Dead Island news since 2014, almost a decade ago, when the original Dead Island teaser trailer dropped, and fans were eager to get their hands on the game. Today, I am going to go through Dead Island 2, dissecting it bit by bit and discussing its flaws and strong suits thoroughly. Make sure to like and subscribe, as this is a growing channel, and without further ado, we should get into Dead Island 2's review. Now, around the launch of Dead Island 2, there was quite a lot of controversy regarding its combat, as it felt sloppy and weightless compared to its two predecessors, Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. I actually agree with the majority here, as a lot of the combat is very sloppy, as I stated before, and isn't very fun to do, as it's more hack and slash, which is actually a pretty good benefit of the game, as most first-person games are first-person shooters right now, and they just focus on guns. Meanwhile, Dead Island 2 and Dead Island 1 and Dead Island Riptide focused mostly on melee combat. Also, the huge variety of weapons is incredible in this game, and there's daggers, swords, knives, and a bunch of other things to help you slay all your zombie foes. There's even these mini attacks called curveballs this time, which actually add a bit more depth to the game, as there's a lot of curveballs you can choose from, but you can only equip 2 at a time. These range from long-range attacks, as there's only around 1 or 2 guns in the entire game, to a few traps that you can set out, as you see me doing in this clip. I can set out meat traps, which makes the enemies go and eat it immediately after I place it down. Now, we have to talk about the variety of zombies in this game, and this is one of the things that actually impressed me about the game and didn't really disappoint me. It's incredible how many zombies they've managed to fit in this game. There's incendiary zombies that are on fire, there's grenade zombies which blow up in close vicinity, there's even brute type enemies which take a lot of hits to kill, and are introduced in a mini-boss fight near the start of the game. There's also a few hazmat zombies that appeared at the end of the game, as you can see on screen, which actually have breakable armor that you have to weaken out before you can actually properly hit them and do some damage. However, zombies and mutants aren't your only threat, as there's some types of green acid in barrels that you have to avoid that can melt down your health really quickly. There's actually quite a lot of environmental hazards in Dead Island 2, such as obviously the green acid, but there's also some explosive barrels that you can either use to your advantage or just get blown up by and blasted off to space. Another one of the complaints that I see on YouTube and online is actually the story for Dead Island 2, which I thought was just alright, but kind of lackluster, as there were a few characters that are basically forgotten halfway through the story and never really returned. None of them really have interesting things to say either. Sure, they contribute to the plot a lot, but they're not really interesting characters in their own right, which I think a video game needs to nail to get an interesting story. However, the best part of the game, in my opinion, is the gore. I mean, you literally just have to look at this game for 1 second and realise that the gore engine is absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen more detailed gore in a game ever since Mortal Kombat 11, and if you've played Mortal Kombat 11, you know what I'm talking about. There's also a unique deck building system, which allows you to pick and choose through different decks and make your own ideal deck. There's also different cards that you can use for different scenarios, like a rage mode, which activates more power in weapons. You also start off with a few cards in your deck, depending on which character you choose at the beginning of the game. Personally, I chose Jacob for his good speed stat and agility. Also, he was all the way over at the marketing every single day on the PS Store before the game came out. Now, boss fights haven't really been the focus of the Dead Island series at all, but the makeshift bosses that Dead Island 2 just throws at you are just disappointing and sad, and act more as introductions to certain enemy types than grand spectacles putting your previously learned skills to the test. So, overall, what do I think about Dead Island 2? I think it's around a 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10 on the meter. However, it just has a lot of flaws that I can't oversee. The combat is sloppy, the story's sloppy, but some of the things like the gore, the visuals, and the grandiose feel of it all is just absolutely amazing. Therefore, I will actually give this game a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.